Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast. It is Christmas Eve, late on the afternoon of Christmas Eve as we're recording this. If you haven't checked TigerIllustrated.com today, you must. We are immersing ourselves in the backstory of Cade Klubnik. Spent the last 2 or 3 weeks learning more about him, from speaking to his loved ones, those around him. Really cool stuff. More to come in parts 2, 3, and 4 at TigerIllustrated.com. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's P-A-R-H-A-M law.com. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's C-E-L-E-R-O commerce.com. If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. All right, so I was rummaging through some old files. I saw Dabo's visit to McFadden in the fall of 2018. He came over there and spent about an hour with us, going down memory lane, his old offices, and everything he was doing the day that Tommy Bowden was out and he was in as interim coach. Now, this is all the raw audio. It was designed to supplement the video we were doing. Ben Long, the videographer, accompanied me and Dabo Swinney on that visit. So all that is to say, this audio is not perfect. There are some funky parts, like when we go outside and the wind is blowing into the microphone. Not ideal, but I think the whole thing is just a treat. I listened to it yesterday and earlier today, and really just a window into what makes Dabo truly a unique leader and certainly one of a kind. Anyway, here we go. Enjoy.
I can't tell you how people would walk by at night and they would bang on my glass. I mean, it was insane.
Fans?
Yeah, because there might be a baseball game going on. Or
this is Ben Long, our videographer.
How's it going? How you doing? Nice to meet you. It was crazy. Or late at night, might just be somebody walking, and I mean, because the lights would be on in there, and I had the blinds covered, but they'd scare the crap out of me. And I used to go in and out that door. I don't think Dan uses that door. I used to park right there and come right in that door. Crazy.
Tommy used to use it all the time, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's how he came in and out. Yeah. In fact, he came in one day. I'm in there working one afternoon. This was during the season. This was like later in the season, and all of a sudden the door opens up, and he walks in. He goes, "Hey, you got anything to drink in here?" It's him and Linda, and they were like on a jog or something, and I'm like, "Yeah," So he comes in. This is like week 4 or something, It was crazy. It was surreal.
Can we get you to put a microphone on your lapel? If that works. And wherever you want to start, there's some nutritionist who I just went to your old office and said, "Hey, this used to be Dabo's office." She goes, "No, it didn't. They were in the West End Zone." I said, "Yeah, but before then they were here."
Yeah.
Not yet, so I was going to check with you.
Yeah, I think a car went through that office one time too. They had a car roll off the hill from Little John and smash right into right into the office right there. Mine and that was next to me, I believe, was Vic. I think.
Where do you want to start?
I don't know. What was your plan? You wanted to go to the staff room?
I think that's occupied until 11:30, but The McFadden room is open now.
You want to walk down to my office?
Yeah, sure.
Kind of. Still got the same carpet. It drives me crazy. I remember we got fancy and we came in and put some graphics on these walls. And I remember walking out, because when I first got here, there was nothing on these walls. When I first came to Clemson, I remember walking down and like, there's nothing here. And then I remember we put some graphics, and I was walking around going, yeah, we got some pictures, you know. It was kind of crazy, but yeah. But I think this is the same carpet that was here when I came here 16 years ago. Been here a while.
I talked to Spiller last week, and he said, we didn't know any different. We thought they were the best facilities in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So these were, you know, we had coaches' offices, and then you had Tommy, and then we had, you know, Don Heimel was a ops guy, and then you had Andy Johnston was an ops guy, and then we had our GAs all set up in here, and our little recruiting library where we used to have a library for all the tapes. Back then it was, you know, VCR tapes and DVDs, and we had them all kind of cataloged. That was right in here. Andy's office was down here, and that was pretty much it. This was all break room. This was the defensive staff room right here, and this was the offensive staff room. So this is where we met as an offense every day. So we had same carpet. We had a big table that came around here, and then coordinator sat here, I sat here. We kind of all sat around the table, and we had the big video screen on the wall and the projector, you know, probably right there where it came down. And that's where we watched our video every day. And then, you know, now you walk in our offensive staff rooms and it's wall-to-wall grease board everywhere. You know, the whole wall from floor to ceiling is grease board. But we had our board and we'd do our game plan, and this is where we sat. You know, we were right here. Spent let's see, 5.5 years as an assistant in here, and then but we didn't move over to the West Zone until July of '09. So spent a lot of time in this room, a lot of time. But this was the offensive staff, defensive staff, and then that went right into the main staff. So you know, we were talking earlier on that day, we had our 7 a.m. staff meeting. You know, I actually had the devotion that day. It was just ironically my day to you know, we always did a devotion or a word of the day, whatever, thought of the day, and it was my day to do that. And then we were in here just working, watching, like we were doing blitz pickup, you know, that part of our game plan, you know, getting ready for Georgia Tech. And obviously we'd played Wake Forest the previous Thursday. So, you know, I recruited for, I think I was in North Carolina Friday night at a game, recruiting a receiver. And we were off on Saturday, back in here on Sunday. And Monday we're right back at a normal week, getting ready for Georgia Tech. And it was probably about 10:30 or so that morning. Door opens up, and Andy Johnston. He says, "Hey, Coach Bowden needs to see you." He went in that door, told them, came in here and said, "Hey, Coach Bowden needs to see you on the staff room real quick." And it was just this. It was just really odd because, you know, we'd already had a staff meeting that morning, and you know, if he ever needed to tell something, he would just come in here and whatever. But I remember we all kind of filed into the staff room, and it was, I don't know, it was a weird deal. It was like when we got in there, like, okay, what's going on here? Something strange. And so we kind of all took our seats, and Tommy walked in, and just basically stood in the room in front of everybody, and you know, said, "Hey, look, there's going to be a change," and he said, "Look, I don't want anybody to worry about me." He said, "I'm good." He said, I worry about all of y'all, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you." And he thanked all of us for the work we had done, and disappointed that, you know, we didn't quite get where we needed to get to, and he wished us well. He said he would be kind of visiting with all of us individually at the right time. He said, "But hey, I'm here for you." And he said, "But right now, you know, Terry Don is right here, and he's going he's going to step in here and say a few words. So it was just emotional, and again, you go from one mindset of you're sitting here, working, and you're so ingrained in what you're doing, and now your whole world, just like that, is turned upside down, and then Terry Don walks in, and basically, addresses the staff. Terry Don's not a man of many words, and he just said, look, man, first of all, I want all of you to know I'd never fire a coach in the middle of the season. He said, but this is something Tommy and I talked about. I felt like this would be the best path for now. So this is what we're going to do. And he basically kind of just challenged us all, hey, look, we got a job to do, and I expect everyone to roll your sleeves up, pull together, and do the best you can for this team. And then he just kind of said, and with that, Dabo, you're now the head coach. You call all the shots, and I need to see you in my office in 5 minutes. And and then he walked out. And it was people kind of slamming notebooks and throwing pens down, and just kind of just a really crazy 30 seconds or so of emotion. As an assistant, we're all thinking about our jobs and our families, and that's exactly what I was thinking about. There was nothing positive in my mind, and then it just kind of got quiet, and everybody just kind of standing there looking around, and I just said, hey, look, I don't know what to say. I mean, let me go meet with him, and we'll get together here in a little bit. And I got up and walked out, and I went and got a notepad out of my office. I mean, I was in sweatpants and a T-shirt. Mondays are long days. We got in here early on Mondays, and they're still long days. But I was, I wasn't dressed to go meet with the AD, and I'll never forget that. I was so embarrassed because I'm walking in there. He's in a coat and tie, and I've got sweatpants and a T-shirt on, and I mean, it was just crazy. But I grabbed my phone. I called Kath to tell her. I just said, I said, babe, we've been fired, and she started crying. And my exact words to her, I said, it gets worse. I'm the interim, and because that's where my mindset was. Like, there was nothing good. It was, this is fixing to be the most miserable 7 weeks of my life, and because I had been a part of that. We got fired my last year at Alabama, and Coach Dabo stayed and finished the year, but we had like 5 games or something like that as a fired staff, and it was awful. I mean, it was miserable, and that's what was in my mind. And not only was that in my mind, now I've got to try to be the head coach of it. And so it was just, there just really wasn't much positive in my head. I'm worried about my family. Where am I going to be moving? It was just worried about my players, the kids I've got recruited. I mean, it was a lot of emotions. And then I walk into his office, and I took a deep breath. I said a prayer, and just God give me strength, and took a deep breath, and I walk in and sit in his office, and he says, sit down, and so I sit down. I got a notepad, and I'm sweatpants and a shirt, and I'm looking at him, and he just, and my emotions went from one extreme to the exact opposite, and it's amazing how a few words can change a person's demeanor, mindset, whatever. And he looked at me and he said, sit down right there. He said, hey, look, I know I put you in a tough spot. He said, but Dabo, I just got a few things I want to say to you. And I'm thinking he's going to say, hey, just, here's what I want you to do. Do the best you can. I'll try to get the next guy to keep you. That's where my mindset was. And he just said, Dabo, he said, I want you to know that I've watched you for 5.5 years. That's how he started his conversation. And he said, and I want you to know that I think you're ready for this job. And he said, here's what I want you to do. He said, for the next 7 weeks, he said, I don't want you to be the interim head coach. I want you to be the head coach. He said, I want you to think like you're the head coach. And he said, and I want you to do whatever you think you need to do to fix us. That was the word he used, and he used that a couple of times. He said, whatever it is you think you need to do to fix us, you do it, and you got my full support. He said, if you need to fire the whole staff, you got my full support. And so this is how the conversation started. And I'm just kind of listening to him, and then he started, just telling me why. He said, look, I've watched you for 5.5 years. I've watched you in the community. I've watched you with your relationships with your players. I've watched how you coach on the field. I've watched you in recruiting. I've watched you just how you manage yourself. And he said, Dabo, I really believe you're what we need here. And this is what he's telling me. And he goes, now I'm also going to tell you this. He said, I'm going to hire the best coach for Clemson. He said, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to do a national search and I'm going to interview. And he said, I'm going to hire the best coach for Clemson. But here's what I want you to know. I'd love to see you get this job. And he said, now it sure would help if you could win a few ball games. And there was kind of a little moment of laughter. And he goes, but I also want you to know whether you win all of them or you win none of them or some of them, you're going to get an interview when this is all over. He said, I'm going to give you an interview for this job. He said, and I think you've got a chance to be a great head football coach. And he said, you got any questions? That's really what he said. And I mean, I'm like, and I said, well, no, you're telling me that, like, you want me to be the head coach, like I can do whatever I want to do to be the head coach. He's like, that's exactly whatever you need to do to fix us, is what he said. And so I all of a sudden I went from this one emotion to adrenaline. I was inspired. I was so motivated of, man, I mean, I got a shot. and I mean, it was just complete extreme emotions back and forth. And so I remember getting up, shaking his hand, and he just kind of smiling at you. He said, good luck. And and he goes, we're all counting on you. That's kind of how that's just classic Terry Don. And I remember getting up and I went over here in Jervy. I left his office and I found I can't remember if it was a little break room or a closet area back on that back hall. And I closed the door and I went in there and I sat down and I had a notepad and I just started writing stuff down. I mean, I was all over the place. It would be practice thoughts, staff thoughts, recruiting thoughts, fan thoughts, team thoughts. I was just all over. I had a flood of emotions of all these things, and then I sat in there by myself. I prayed, and I started thinking, all right, what do I got to do? Kind of a plan of action I put in place for the immediate, like right now, and so I went and I sat down with Brad Scott. I left there because I said, all right, I'm gonna have to meet with all the coaches. And I went and sat down with Brad and closed the door, and he looked at me and he just smiled. He said, well, buddy, how'd it go? And so I told him, Brad's been a head coach. He'd been around a long time, and I told him what he said. I thought it was important that I articulate what was told to me, and of course he was excited to hear that, and I'm sure in his mind he probably knew we didn't have a great chance either. But hey, it's better than no chance. And so then I met with each coach individually and kind of laid out what the AD told me, and I told all of them, listen, I know none of you came to work here for me, and but here's the expectation, and if you don't want to do that, hey, you can go, and your contract is good, no hard feelings, but if you're going to stay, then we're going to have to be professional, and we're going to have to do what's best for these players, and you know what, it's what's best for all of us, because if I get the job, great, it's going to create opportunity for everybody. If I don't get the job, at least we've done a good job, and maybe we have all better paths somewhere else. And but at the end of the day, we got a shot here. We're not just an interim. We're not just minding the ship here. We've got a chance, and we're going to be evaluated on what we do going forward. And then obviously I made a change with the offense because it just wasn't going to work, and it's what I needed to do to try to pull some things together and create just a little different path than where we were. And that was very difficult. It was very difficult. But it's what we needed to do. And so then once I did that and kind of got everybody settled in and said, hey, you're doing this and you're doing that. Dooley, you're going to coach tight ends, and Jeff, you're going to coach receivers, and Billy, you're going to come over here to quarterbacks, and, here's what I want, and kind of gave everybody some charge. Then I needed to get ready to address the team. And I knew that was going to be a very emotional moment. And so, it's just a 4:00 team meeting. Tommy met with the team at 4:00. And he had a chance to kind of go in and talk to them. And then when he was done, they got me and brought me in there, and I made everybody leave. I didn't want anybody in there except me and the players. Obviously, I had a whole segment group that I was coaching, but I had recruited a lot of guys too. And I had good relationships, across the board, offense, defense. And I told them, I thought that the team needed to know what the AD had said to me. Because I wanted them to know too, hey, look, you're not getting a guy who's just going to be looking for a job somewhere else, and I'm just going to, show up and be the head coach for a few weeks here, and I'm absent-minded because I'm worried about my future. This is an opportunity that I've worked my entire life for, and I had no idea. I didn't ask for this. You guys didn't come here for me to be your head coach. None of us asked for this. All of us is a bittersweet moment. I have such great respect for Coach Bowden. I mean, he was a position coach for a year at Alabama. He was a guy I'd stayed in touch with. He gave me the opportunity to come to Clemson, and he's the reason I stayed at Clemson. I mean, I could have left Clemson a couple of times, and the reason I stayed, I could have gone to Alabama as the passing game coordinator, but I stayed because of the professional growth opportunity that Tommy had laid out for me here. And I knew him. I didn't know Coach Saban at the time at all. I didn't know his staff. I loved my players. I loved what I was doing. And so, he's the reason I stayed here, for sure. And I wanted to be great. I wanted to be successful. But this is just the way God's plan was. And I knew God brought me here in 2003 without a doubt. I knew He brought me here on purpose. No doubt in my mind. I didn't really know fully what the big picture was, but I knew this is where I was supposed to be. And that was just His plan for me. And as I look back and I see all the things that were kind of put in place and ordered along the way, a couple opportunities that I could have been gone. God kept me here. Because if I'd have been gone, I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity, and it was all part of His plan, And my plan wasn't as big. God had a bigger plan for me. My plan was I was disappointed on one job in particular that I thought I had a chance to get and didn't get, and as a head coach, but God's plan a year later was much bigger, and I think that's a lesson I learned is we limit ourselves oftentimes by how we think, and. So, it was an emotional day, and I told the players, we got a choice to make. I'm all in. I don't have a great chance to get this job. I got pocket eights or something. I don't have very good odds here. But I am fully committed, and I am all in for these next 7 weeks. And there's going to be some things different. And I know y'all don't owe me anything. I've talked to the AD. You guys can clean your locker out. Your scholarships are good. You can come back when the new coach gets the job. You don't have to do anything I'm asking you to do. But if you do show up tonight at 6 o'clock, all right, here's the expectation. And we're going to practice different. We're going to meet different. We're going to travel different. We're going to think different. There's going to be some differences. And I told them then, I said, you receivers in this room, I'm going to coach the whole team like I coach my group. And there was a chuckle. Those guys kind of laughed in there. They all showed up at practice that night. And those seniors, the Aaron Kellys, the Tyler Grishams, the James Davises, that group of guys, the Darrell Scotts, that group of guys that didn't owe me anything, that were on their way out of here, Mike Hamlin, all that crap, they could have just tuned me out. But they showed up as a 3-3 football team, and we went 4-2 down the stretch. And 2 of those 3 wins were like 1AA opponents that year. I mean, we were a mess. And it was, and that's what, even though we lost that first game, I was so proud of that team, how they competed, how they played. I think other people were inspired if they really watched the game. We didn't win the game, but I'm like, you know what? This was pretty cool to see a group of guys laid on the line like they did. And then we had that open date. I changed up how we did the things in the open date. I remember that week I caught a bunch of criticism because I did a community service, you know. And guess what we're doing today? Community service. Exactly what we did 10 years ago this week. And we're doing the same thing. So, but I felt, because I remember I was like, we're just practicing in a different way. You know, it's all part of teaching and development and creating the type of culture that you need to have to be successful in the relationships and the perspective and all those things. And so, you know, I was inspired by a group of people, and that's why when we won it, you know, you heard Ben Boulware articulate things that had been told to them of, you know, guys, y'all don't understand, that senior group of 08 didn't have a chance to win the national championship. That group of 09, that group in 10, they didn't have a chance to win the national championship. But they're all a part of this. We're not here if it wasn't for a decision that a lot of those guys had to make to say, you know what, this guy might be half crazy, but, you know, we might as well try something different. And you know, because they had to believe. And that was my number one task, was to create belief that hey, it doesn't have to be like this. Hey, we can be special. Hey, we can be great. You know, greatness isn't just for the Alabamas and the Ohio States or whatever. Man, we can do this. But here's what we got to do, in laying out a clear vision for it and a plan and a path and being able to articulate that. And then it was understanding that there's going to be adversity. And don't flinch when it comes. There's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some adversity. There's going to be some negativity. There's going to be that. You know, I mean, just stay focused on what we got to do. If we're going to change Clemson, it's going to be from the inside out. It's never going to be from the outside in. It's going to be from the inside out. We've got to change how we think. We've got to change a lot of stuff. And we slowly started doing that. And the guys bought into it, and we had this energy. And we weren't a great team as far as just, you know, talent or whatever. But, man, we pulled it together. And, you know, it culminated that last week was emotional because I don't know if I'm going to get the job or not. But I had such a great time in trying. I was like, man, boy, if I could just have some time here, you know, to put the processes in place, to get the philosophy in place, to get a staff in place, to start building some, you know, infrastructure of what we need. I think we could really get this thing going. And then for us to win that game and beat South Carolina, you know, they didn't tell me I was getting the job, but they kind of winked at me and said, hey, I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock or whatever. So it was an amazing time. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I mean, it's a blur. But, you know, I always tell my players, man, just be so busy trying to be great that you don't get distracted by stuff that don't matter. And that's really kind of how I look at it. You know, man, I have been so busy for the past 10 years trying to be the best that I can be, help Clemson be the best that it can be, help all these young people be the best that they can be, that it's like a blur. It seems like yesterday. It just goes so fast. And that's one of my favorite lines in life is sometimes the days are really, really, really long, but the years are very short. And that's kind of what I say. I mean, 10 years as the head coach here is just mind-blowing to me. But I'm thankful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the people, all the opportunity, the administration, our fans, all the players that have come through here who've laid it on the line, all the staff that we've had, all the way back to that first group of 08 that you know, a lot of them probably weren't very happy for me being the head coach. But, man, they rolled their sleeves up and they went to work. And we made it work. So it's been an incredible blessing. And now, you know, and when I got the job, I remember my first meeting with the board, I'm like, listen, I want to build a program that's unique. You know, I don't want to be like everybody else. I want other people to look at Clemson and say, man, what the heck's Clemson doing? And here's how we're going to do that. And you know, that's where we are. And my message to the players was always, hey, let's build consistency. I mean, we were, and people look back and say, well, the first couple of years weren't successful. I'm like, bull crap. We won 9 games the first year. We won the division. We hadn't won a division. We played in the ACC championship in 2009, and ironically, it was in Tampa. And I remember walking off that field so disappointed. It goes back. God had something bigger for us. You know, I remember walking off that field that night. It didn't go the way I had it planned. You know, we're going to win 10 games. We're going to the Orange Bowl for the first time in 30 years. I mean, we're going to be ACC champs for the first time since whatever, you know, Moby Dick was a minnow, however, whenever that was. And I remember walking off the field, and our guys had just laid their guts on the line. Spiller was the MVP of the game, and we lost. And I remember walking in that locker room, players were just devastated. You know, we were so distraught. Fans were just people throwing oranges at us coming off the field, oranges being thrown. And I remember just walking off the field, and I'm just like, all right, God never says oops, man. I mean, it just didn't go the way I thought it would go. And then the next year, you know, we won 6 games. We had 5 losses by 6 points or less. I mean, we lost at Auburn, a game we should have won, and then we win the national championship. We lost at Florida State, led the entire game until the last 2 seconds of the game. They kicked a 55-yard field goal that was good from 70. And I'm just – but what I saw that year was a team grow closer. I didn't see a team. They didn't splinter. They didn't point fingers. They just kept working, kept competing, and I just like, you know what, we've got some good pieces here. You know, Nuke was a freshman in 2000. I had some good pieces, and I had Sammy coming in. Taj was kind of getting ready, and all of a sudden in 11, you know, we win the league for the first time in however long, and we had some adversity that year. But we didn't know how to win. It's all, you know, failure's a part of the journey. You know, it's part of the success. And, you know, we win the league, and we go to the Orange Bowl, and we play like crap. You know what? And that's a part of our journey. That's a part of our success as well. And so I just remember, you know, just thinking, man, we won 10 games. You know, I refused to look at the negative. I stayed focused on the positive of what we were doing. So many people were worried about what we weren't doing, and I'm like, guys, let me tell you what we're doing here. And what's crazy about it is we lost that championship game in 2009. 7 years later, we're on the same field playing Alabama for the national championship. You know, I have 88 career wins going into that game, which was my number. We're playing Alabama in Tampa, and we win the national championship. And the 5-star quarterback throws to the walk-on wideout to beat Alabama. And I look back on it, and it was just all God's plan. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. From me coming to Clemson to getting the job to, you know, everything that had transpired, it was all part of our journey. And I really believe those steps were ordered. God put the right people in my path, helped me make the right decisions, have the right focus, you know, whatever it may be. And that's kind of what it was. You know, I was so disappointed in 2009 walking off that field that first year in the ACC championship game. God had something bigger. 7 years later on the same field, because I believe we stayed focused, we stayed the course, we continued to do things the way I felt like they should be done. I did not, you know, I mean, every decision I made was criticized, you know, or why are you hiring this guy? Why don't you hire that guy? I had one guy call me and tell me if I don't hire this guy, I should be fired immediately. And I just remember laughing. I'm like, well, if I get fired, it ain't going to be because I did the way somebody else wanted to do. I'm going to do it the way I believe it should be done. If it don't work, it don't work. And so it's just, and then I used to tell our players, here's what I want us to be. You know, we won that first 10-game season in 11, and we haven't won 10 or less, haven't won less than that since. But my my message to them was, let's become a consistent program, and that's really my vision for Clemson. I think that's where we are now, but we're not even close to what we're going to be. And my goal is to be one of the most consistent programs in the history of college football. You know, hey, we'll win some championships along the way. It's hard to win. It's hard. It's hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. But what's up, Dan? You good?
Okay. You're on camera. I don't want to mess you up.
What's up, man?
Good
you
to
good?
see you. Did you guys go in the office?
Not yet. We're about to. We're about to.
All right. I'll clean it up.
But it's, you know, that's where we are now. But that's what going forward. That's my vision for Clemson. I mean, under the old rules, maybe we already have another national championship or two. But it's tough. It's hard to get that done, and that's why I always tell people I don't measure it by that. I just want to be one of those teams that's got a shot every year, because if you're in the hunt, then hey, it'll all work out the way it's supposed to. But more importantly, I want to enjoy the journey. I want to enjoy the journey, because that's what it's all about. Because being on, you know, God doesn't make us for the mountaintop, right? God makes us for the valleys. He makes us for the journey. He makes us for the grind. And if you don't love that part, you're missing out on your life, because that's what it's all about. I mean, it was an unbelievable, emotional, spiritual moment to hold the trophy up and know that we did it, and we did it the right way, and we loved our players as we did it, and we beat the best to do it against all odds, if you will. That was pretty special. But at the end of the day, the best part was how we did it and the journey to it, all the way back, and to see our players appreciate a moment. But at the end of the day, that's not what they're going to cherish, you know. And so that's why I just try to find joy in the whole journey, in all of it, the good, the bad, the success, the failure, because I know we're going to get there again one day. But that's not what it's all about. It's really about all the other stuff. And so, you know, we're in the process of that, and I want to enjoy every second of it, because just like this 10 years has gone by like that, my career is going to go by like that. And so excited about it. Am I in your office?
You are, no problem.
So anyway.
You want to pop to your old office?
Yeah, yeah. This was the offensive staff room.
Oh, okay.
We're reminiscing over here. How you doing?
Hey, Eric. How you doing, man?
How about you, Luke? Good.
What's up, yeah?
Are you running out? Here, you want to use this?
So these were meeting rooms. This was I think this was like one was tight ends, one was linebackers or DBs or something like that. Bathroom, break room. This is my office right here. This is my office. I believe this was Vic. Hang on. This was Burton's office. It's either Vic or Burton. This was me, Big Daddy. Ron West was right next to me, but this was my office. I spent. How you doing?
I'm good. How are
Good
you?
to see you.
Good to see
I
you.
spent hours and hours, and so this door was not here. There was no door. If it was there, it was covered. We had our big credenza thing back here at my desk, and all the pictures and stuff. This is kind of had a grease board on the wall. So this was my spot right here. Great little spot. That's where I started at, right here.
Can you believe reporters were allowed to say, "Hey, Dabo, how you doing, man? You got a minute?"
Yeah.
That's like unheard of.
Yeah, that's one of the things I changed. Yeah.
Right away.
That was right away. That was like right on my notes. Yeah. I wasn't real popular with the media from the get-go. And you know, it was kind of a free-for-all.
It really was.
And in today's world, and I'm still very accessible, and you know, with the media, but I mean, I look around at some of the media policies at some of these schools. I mean, like they don't talk to anybody, but. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like a thoroughfare. You had two halls, everybody come in here and say, hey, and the media was in here.
John Solomon.
It was constant. It was nonstop. And but yeah, that was one of the things that I felt like we needed to tighten the ship a little bit. And then my meeting room was down here. So this was all position meeting rooms. This was Burton Bird. Ron West, and this was Mike O'Kane before it was I think Napier ended up taking that spot right there, and then you had Brad Scott down here. Brad Scott had the big corner office. And then this was the wideout room, so this is where I spent hours upon hours. And it's now Stephanie's office. Oh my gosh! I didn't know this is you're in my office. Oh my goodness! So I had all my video stuff right here, all my tapes and all my teaching stuff, all my receiver books and things I was teaching, and then my desk was right here. And so I had my video cameras. I was sitting here and I'd have all my receivers' chairs. Had a big board there. And we'd come in every day, and this is where I met with my guys. So this is where we stopped. And now it's Stephanie's office. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm glad that greatness is in this office.
I tried, but don't look at this.
Greatness is in this office. They get no better. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I don't think I need to move in here.
Yeah, I'm moving here now.
Good.
I told you this funny because I started in this building as a student.
Yep.
And to be back in here, I was
Yeah.
like the wide, so when I tell people I'm the wide receivers room.
Yeah. In fact, that's another story because Stephanie, she can tell you because back in those days we had no support staff. I mean, we literally had like one person. So as a position coach, you really did it everything. I mean, you had to do it all, and if you weren't equipped to do that, then there would be gaps and things would fall through the cracks because maybe a guy's a really good coach at something, but maybe he's not very good at being organized or following through on some whatever paperwork. And so I can't tell you how much time I spent with Stephanie as an assistant.
Yeah.
Because I recruited a lot of guys. Seemed like every year I would have a bunch of guys, and I would be dealing with her constantly. And so I had this vision of, man, I don't need my coaches having to do all that type of stuff constantly. We need to be a better process. And but I would work with Stephanie, so I had a good relationship with her. And then she's the head compliance person when I get the job. And so I was very fortunate because, like I said, I had been here and I had some relationships in place to where I could lean on some people to say, hey, and I was very comfortable to go to Stephanie and say, Stephanie, can we do this? And she'd either say yes or no, or she would come to me and say, hey, here's a thought. And, and that's really kind of what happened. It's like all of a sudden everybody just kind of started coming together. And we started all getting on the same page, and everybody was pulling for each other and trying to work together. And it was awesome. It was awesome. But Stephanie was a lifesaver for many years until she got big time and moved up in the
Big time together.
So yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah. That was really it. I mean, it really wasn't much to it here. I mean, it was just kind of, and it was like, I always felt like I was in a fishbowl, literally, because it was, I'm in my office at night and people were looking in, and then when he became the head coach, it was like everybody walked by and go, hey, what are you doing in there? And it's like, scare you to death. But I remember when we did these graphics, I thought, man, we had football people, but I'm like, man, we've arrived.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It really is. So, anyway, you want to go down here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Staff room?
They may have just started the training in there. We need to do the coach office or the team meeting room.
Sounds good. There's Kyle.
These were all meeting rooms.
Is that not Terry Don Jr.?
He is
Goodness
Terry Don.
gracious.
My guy talks
They have
like
to be
him,
related.
walks like him. Yeah, he is Terry Don Jr. right there.
We're not talking about you.
You know what? I could probably play it.
He could. He is Terry Don Jr.
Dabo.
You don't need to go to South Alabama. I remember that conversation. Did y'all go over there yet?
No,
That's what you need to do. You need to come out of that meeting with your
little notepad.
with your note. You had your book.
Yeah. Well, no. When I interviewed, you're talking about when I did my
Because
interview.
you were going to interview
Yeah.
and you wouldn't meet with him first.
I gave them all a book. I gave them all one.
Well, you wouldn't. You met
I've
with
seen
Terry
that.
Don first, and Terry Don told him. He said,
Yeah. I kind of gave them all a book of kind of, hey, here's some
and
thoughts.
this was well before now. This was well before
Yeah.
October 13th,
Yeah.
2000.
Oh, that was, you talking about South Alabama. Yeah, I had put a little thing together.
Yeah.
I said, hey.
And he told you.
Yep.
He told you don't need to go.
You don't need to do that.
You don't need to do that.
That's the one you wanted?
No.
No, it's just-
I wanted the UAB job.
UAB.
It was an
That's
opportunity.
what I
though.
wanted. Yeah, and I told him, I said, well, I'm not going to take it. I said, but I just feel like I need to at least just go through the process, and it kind of forced me to kind of pull some things together. And it was good. I went down and met with them in Atlanta, but I knew I wasn't going to take the job if they offered it to me.
Right.
They ended up hiring Joey Jones, but I would have taken the UAB job.
So I don't know.
I would. I mean, I already had Blazer Nation. I mean, we were fixing to build an empire, and you know, I think I'm going to get an interview, and I'm pulling it all together, and they like the next day they hired Coach Callaway, and I was like, man, I cannot believe I didn't even get a chance to sit down and interview, but a year later I'm the head coach at Clemson, and the same thing. God had a bigger plan, you know, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you gotta
y'all
don't
going-
get too
y'all
upset
going
when
there
things
now?
don't work out the way
Is
you
it y'all
want.
already? Is it occupied? If it is, that's no
Who's in
problem.
here?
You know what?
He said
Yeah,
after
you
11.
guys are all.
He said after 11.
Well, they're probably doing. Hold on, they're probably doing their. Let's see here. We got. Let's see. Team room.
You want me to show you Terry Don's
Yeah.
office?
She said 11.
I mean, not Terry Don's, but
Yeah, I got.
Hey.
I got one in there right now. Unfortunately, in the team room.
That's okay.
we'll only take 10 seconds. But this is hello. So this is where Beth Douglas was. Actually, I take that back. This
Over
was a
there.
part of Tommy's suite. So he had the office.
His office.
He had a bathroom. This was like a little lounge area that Tommy had, and then Beth was right there in that office. So Dan made this the office, created office space for Graham and all them right there. But and then the other thing is we didn't have a nice fancy glass door either when I was here. This was all wood door. But as you can see, great progress is taking shape in here. So. Dan has classed the joint up a little bit. He's changed it around. You know, we had couches over here, and I think that was a window.
It was.
I think it was all windows. And I was telling him I felt like I was in a fishbowl at night. You know, be up here late, and it might be a baseball game or just whatever. And people would come by and they'd knock on the glass and say, "Hey, Coach Swinney, what's going on?" You know.
And then,
Well, then I
and the
came in and
escape
out of
door.
that. I came in and out of that door.
That's right.
And a lot of people would knock on that door, but yeah, and I remember I wasn't going to move in here. I just didn't feel right about moving in here. And after about 3 days of Larry Williams coming up and down the hall, you know, I realized, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to get this done sitting in this office over there. So I remember boxing my stuff up, and I had just stuff in boxes. I mean, it was just all around, and there was nothing. I had just empty space everywhere, and I just was, you know, but it was quiet. It was a place where I could get work done, and so it was great. It was great, and then we stayed here until we moved over to the West Zone. I think about July of '09, and then we transitioned from there. Terry Don actually moved in here.
Right.
And we started kind of redoing some of the space around here, and a lot of great memories. A lot of great memories for sure. A lot of great memories.
It's unbelievable.
10 years. Yeah,
That's great.
it's
great
crazy.
stuff.
10 years. So, been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Want to go into the
All right.
McFadden?
Thank you for letting us interrupt. Your office looks good. You
No.
cleaned up well.
Hey, we got your autograph in here.
Oh, is it in there? Did I sign it?
Yeah. I wanted to. I thought it was here.
Great.
Oh, on the desk?
I thought it was here.
Oh, love it. That's me.
That is
That's
awesome.
me. That's me. I left my mark.
Awesome.
I love that.
There you go.
Yeah. I must have done that one day thinking, you know what? I'm going to leave my mark here somewhere.
That's good
funny.
stuff.
Surprised you didn't write "was here."
Yeah, I should have. I should have.
It also kind of looks like D-Rad.
Hold it. So then, after Dabo did that, and I saw, I said, okay, I'm gonna put D-Rat over there.
I love it.
Football season is grilling season, and Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio is South Carolina's premier source for the big three. Weber, Traeger, and Big Green Egg Grills. Blackstone Griddles, too. I'm Jack Oliver. Grill all your tailgate favorites to perfection with a premium gas, charcoal, or pellet grill, then top it all off with something sizzling from your Blackstone griddle. For grills, griddles, patio furniture, hot tubs, and saunas, shop in store or online at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive in Columbia, and jackoliverpools.com.
Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Can I see the Dabo one again? That's great.
That's kind of how my drawer looked too, right there.
God,
Just like that.
This is the drawer that he stays
No
closed.
stuff in there.
It stays closed.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Appreciate it.
And I remember too. One of the first things, like, I didn't really know. Beth comes to me, Beth Douglas, and she goes, "How do you want to handle your mail?" And I remember going, "What do you mean how I want to handle my mail?" And she goes, "Well, there's going to be mail coming here. Like, do you want me to try to process it?" I'm like, "I don't need you to handle my mail. Bring me my mail." I was very independent that way as an assistant. I really did a lot of stuff just myself. And it took about 3 days. She brings a bucket of mail in there. And I remember I went home one night, like the next week during the open date, and it was, I told Kai, I said, "I can't do this. Just opening the mail and the process of vetting it, and I'm like," and then there were certain things I didn't need to see, and I went by, I said, "Beth, what did you do for Tommy?" And so she started telling me. She just kind of laughed. She goes, "Yeah, I thought you'd be back." So we changed our whole process there, and then I didn't know that, like, people want you to sign stuff, and I remember this whole room was full, this whole room was full of stuff that I just didn't have time to deal with, and it took me. I had to come up here. Sometime, I don't know, it was weeks later, and Beth met me up here on the weekend to try to catch. I'm like, "What? How did Tommy process this stuff?" It was just, so there were some things that just kind of, that you don't really think much about from a time standpoint until you kind of get going into it. I mean, something as simple as mail, not to mention, email and text messages and administrative stuff. So that was the biggest thing for me, because I didn't have a lot of time. Time was a real problem. I needed like 27 hours in a day, and that just wasn't going to happen. So just learning how to manage my time and what I had to really, as there was fires everywhere, for 7 weeks. So it was like, where's the hottest fire? And trying to prioritize what I needed to do, even though there was a lot that needed to be done, prioritizing, and then starting fresh in January of 2009, and really being able to kind of get a good structure, or at least a good skeleton of what I want it to be, so that we would have a chance to build a foundation and be successful. I went out to Texas. I took the whole staff to Texas and sat down with Mac Brown. What an amazing trip that was. Mac was awesome, because I had done it long enough, whatever, at that point, 12 weeks or so, that I knew that, okay, I mean, I had a lot of questions, and I needed to sit down with somebody, because I needed to, you know, am I on the right track here? Or am I crazy? Or what do you think about, just like, well, how do you handle your mail? Hey, how do you do, you know, just some basic stuff. And Mac was awesome. I mean, he spent hours with me, and it was like he could read my mind. You know, here's a guy that's been doing it forever, and he was like the instant cliff notes. And so that was an incredibly beneficial trip for me. And he would take the time like he did to help me. And I didn't know Mac at the time. And he just opened his arms and welcomed me. He had kept up, paid attention. He was excited I got the job. And so that was a great trip, and I really think was very helpful. And then you know, hiring Kevin Steele was a great benefit. You know, Kevin, he brought a wealth of knowledge into the staff and was very helpful to me, especially early on. And he had been around different places and things, so you know, we kind of put a good infrastructure in place, and then we've been able to grow it, you know, over the years.
Let's see if we can see the parking space.
Sure. Wherever. I
See
don't.
Terry Don's office?
Yeah.
You want to show you that real
Yeah,
quick?
let's do that.
And then we'll come back and we can finish up right here. Yes, we came out of the staff room and just started walking to the hall, down the hall. Well, I went to my office and got a notepad, and I started walking, and I think I called Kath about right here. Hey, babe, you know, I'm heading to Terry Don's office. Here's what happened. And so it was, I remember my boys, you know, Will and Drew, they were at Clemson Elementary. And, you know, I think Kath went and got them. And they had heard something at school already, you know, and they didn't really understand. But the locker room was down there, down the steps. That was the locker room, the weight room, the coach's locker room. This has been changed a lot. This has changed all this area over here. That used to be just football, and then all the other sports were here. You know, everybody was in here. Basketball, you name it. Their offices were here in Derby. And we had compliance was right here, which they're still here. But Terry Don's office was down here. And I'm not even sure what they got it now.
I think it's Jonathan Gant.
This was, is that who it is? Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
So this was the reception area for Terry Don, and he had,
Ricketts.
I think Ricketts was over there.
Katie.
Katie. Yeah, Katie. Katie was right here. Katie and Ricketts, and then Katie moved down there once we moved to the West End zone. But they were all right here, and this was like a little suite. And then Terry Don's office was right here. Is this Gant's office?
No, this is me now.
This is your office?
This is me now.
You are big time.
I know, man.
Hey,
I got it.
you have moved up in the world. Wow, you were like a student or something in 08, weren't you? What were you?
Yeah. I was a GA.
A GA, yeah. And so this was Terry Don's office, and he had it dressed up nice, and then it became Leggett's office. So this is pretty cool. But I came in and I walked in right here, and Terry Don has this. He had a couple of chairs right here. He had it arranged differently, but he had a couple of chairs right there. And so I sat down and we had our conversation and walked on out. And so when I left here, I went down. I remember coming out, and I didn't really know where to go. So what's up, Jonathan?
Hey, how you doing?
And I didn't want to go that way. All right, Muse, you're not in trouble, are you?
No, this is where we're gonna
Oh, okay, good. So I remember I was like, I don't want to go that way because there's chaos. And so I just kind of walked this way.
What the heck are you doing in this?
Exactly. We're reminiscing. Hello.
Hello.
And I remember kind of sneaking down here, and I don't even know if it's still here.
That's okay.
It was a closet. I don't think it was that closet. it may have been right here. And it was a little break room, kind of like this, but I kind of came in here and closed the door and just started, what's up, Coach? How you doing, man? Good to see you. You good?
Good to see you. Yeah.
Doing a little reminiscing.
Oh, okay.
And I just kind of sat down and I spent like 45 minutes just making notes and comments and thoughts and then I left there and I went to Brad's office, sat down with Brad, and then I went back to my office and I started having I think I got with Andy and said, hey, I need so I just set a schedule and met with every coach. It took a while, and then I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. And then I went and got with the offense, got with Vic, and I said, all right, Vic, hey, look, you got to go handle the defense. And then I went and got with the offense, said, this is what I want, this is what we're going to do. Here's what we need to get done for today. I got the staff together, did a little staff meeting, said, here's our practice schedule, this is what we're going to do. And kind of challenged everybody from that point. And then I met with the team at 4. Then we practiced at, I think it was 6 o'clock when we went out on the field. And then I remember coming, I had no clothes. I literally had sweatpants. And I remember telling Kath, I called her, I said, can you bring me some clothes? And so I come off the practice field and Tim says, hey, you're going to have to talk to the media. And I thought I was going to talk to the media like after practice, like we always did. And he's like, no, we're going to have to go up to the team room. And so Kath brought me some clothes up there. And I didn't have any clothes. She brought me a pair of slacks and
What's going on?
what's up, girl? You good?
Yeah.
Doing a little reminiscing.
All right.
And and I had no idea what I was walking into when we walked in there that night, but it was just pure emotion and just adrenaline, and I don't think I slept that night. I mean, I maybe slept 2 hours. I was there most of the night and back over early, but I was so energized, of what we need to do, and then we just kind of started from there, one day at a time.
We'll go to the
All right. All right.
Brian.
Yeah, all right, Brian. Hennessy wasn't there.
Brian's seal of approval.
Hennessy was not there. I think that was, I don't know who was there. That might have been baseball. No, that might have been baseball, old baseball.
Yeah, baseball's here.
Oh, it's my girls.
Hey.
I was going to say, was Billy D in that side office and
No,
it smelled like cigarette smoke?
Billy D was over at Ittake.
Oh, that's right. He used to be beside Terry
He
Don.
was. Yeah, when I came up here and interviewed, he was in that side
Yeah.
where Hennessy was.
Yeah, he used to take
Yeah,
puffs.
because I didn't know Billy D. When I came up here and interviewed, he knew Danny Pyramid. And Danny, because I called Danny and said, hey, I'm going to Clemson to interview. Give me some scoop. You know, Danny was at like Virginia Tech or something. And he goes, you got to meet Billy D. So I sat down with Billy D, and we had a lot in common. We talked about a lot of stuff. But yeah, he was there. And then he ended up getting moved over to the Ittake building.
Yeah. Could you still smell the coffee in Terry Don's office when you were?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember, we used to have, that was our supply closet. Needed a pen or something. Hey, y'all. A lot of this space they've created out of our meeting rooms.
Yeah.
Some of those bigger rooms into smaller space to create offices.
I guess they're still in there.
We'll do the park spot, and we'll
Cool.
run it back there. Finish that up.
Who's in the parking spot now?
Is there somebody in it?
So, I was going to ask Lynn to try to.
Yeah, so that was kind of a yeah, there's nobody in it.
Oh, I'm cold. You good? Okay.
So I always parked over here. Where the assistant coaches park, and that's where I was parked on Monday, and that's where I parked on Tuesday, and that's where I parked on Wednesday, and I think Wednesday nights when I moved into this office, because I finally realized Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that I couldn't. It was just I couldn't get anything done, and so because it was just a constant thoroughfare. So Wednesday evening, I decided to move my stuff over here into this office. I just had it boxed up, and I just put my stuff over here. And I just kind of had my space where I could work. And I remember I had the keys. I remember leaving out that door that night and drove home. But I come in here Thursday morning, and it was pitch black. It's getting real now. I mean, I've been through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've had very little sleep, and I always kind of pray when I come into work anyway, and I was just emotional that Thursday morning. I was a little overwhelmed. A lot of it, I think, I was just tired, and I think any normal person, there's a little fear. And then it's because it's like, man, I mean, this is like for real. And I remember driving in the parking lot, and it was dark, there was nobody here, and I pulled in, and I was getting ready to park over here, but I had just moved in the night before. So I remember, I was like, well, I'll go park up here where Tommy parked. Because I got my key to this door, which I thought was kind of cool. I could kind of come in and out. And so I remember pulling around, and like I said, I was kind of overwhelmed that morning, driving to work. And I always tell people, I think God winks at you sometimes. And it was definitely a moment in my life where I felt like God just kind of put his arms around me and said, hey, look, I got you right where I want you. Don't have any fear. Don't have any doubt. You're prepared for this, but more importantly, hey, I got your back. And it was just this moment of peace because I pull in, and as I pull in, my lights hit this curb. And I'll never forget it. I put the brakes on, and I've been praying, and I just deep breath, and I'm coming for another day, and I just stopped, and I went. And I just started crying. I started crying right there. And I just said, man, God, I appreciate you. And thank you so much. And I just had this moment of just pure emotion. And from that point forward, I had this total peace. I had total peace that I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I didn't really care anymore. I was just focused on what I needed to do, and I knew that God was ordering my steps. And some people may say that sounds crazy or that sounds corny, but if you're really a person of faith and you're seeking God's direction, He will give you those God winks. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a number on a curb, maybe it's a sign, maybe it's a person that He puts in your path, maybe it's something that somebody says but if you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, then that's how you communicate. And for me, it was just this overwhelming, like, I remember calling Kath saying, you're not going to believe this. But I all of a sudden, I was overwhelmed. You know, you just distracted by things that don't matter. You know, people saying all kind of stuff, just stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And man, I pulled in, I parked the car, and I went on about my business. And 10 years later, we're back here at this parking spot, and we're still here. I just think that it's amazing. But that was what I needed at that moment. And you know what? It didn't change. I tell people all the time, God will give you peace, but it doesn't change the circumstances. But you have to embrace your circumstances. You have to understand that sometimes you have to go through things in order for God to develop you. He's trying to make you to grow. If you don't have any challenge in your life, there's never any change in your life. You gotta have some challenge. And you can't walk around in life in bubble wrap and never be challenged in life. You're never gonna grow into anything. You can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid of criticism. You can't be afraid of negativity. You can't be afraid of making mistakes. You got to embrace all of that, because God will use all of that to shape you. and then you have to find joy in all of it. You know, even the toughest of the toughest days, you still got to find a way to have joy in that, and as a person of faith, understand that, hey, God's plan bigger than our plan, and never says oops. And so that's always given me peace. This was a really cool moment. Speaking churches, a lot of times I give my testimony. That's always one of the things that I would reference. Just like when I came up here to interview. When I came up here to interview at 33 years old.
You okay if I write about that book you had?
What book?
The binder.
I wouldn't want to give any details.
Okay.
Of what was in it.
Okay. Just a general.
That's kind of something I'm gonna, one of these days I'm gonna share.
Gotcha.
I still got my book that I did for South Alabama.
Yeah.
Book for UAB that I was working on that I didn't get to share, and then obviously the one for Clemson. So
Yeah.
can I dip my head in here for 2 seconds? What's going on in there?
That's the Dan Beebe group.
What are they doing?
They're doing,
Are they
that's
doing
the
interviews or
reporting.
something?
No, that's the reporting stuff. You know, a lot of our female student athletes, you know, this is, if something happens, here's where you go.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
it's that also.
You think
the-
they'd like to take a 10-second break just to show the room? Just
Are
a
there
picture
people
of
in
the
there
room?
right
I don't
now?
know. I think there's something. Literally 10 seconds.
Tuesday. Yeah, they're still in there.
Okay.
They probably got
Well,
5
you guys
minutes.
can come back if you want.
That's
You
fine.
guys- you guys
We
can
got.
come back.
That's totally fine.
It's, but I can tell you, when you come in here, you got the Tommy sack at the front. So if this is the table. All right, when you walk in, so Tommy sat right here. It was Brad Scott, Ron West, and me. So I was in the third chair. And that's really it. So I showed you the staff room. So
Yeah.
they called us in the staff room. We came in, and Tommy came in, talked for a few minutes. Terry Don stepped in, and that was it. And oh, by the way, I lived at 104 Sycamore Drive.
You and all this stuff. Space Age.
I know, isn't that
Is this
crazy?
one?
Crazy.
I think they're conducting the training.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
All right.
But
Good.
these will be cleared up probably in about 20 minutes.
That's all right. He's got to go. We got plenty.
Okay. All right. Enjoyed it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got caught up.
Yeah.
You just caught up on the last 10 years. You're good to go now, Ross.
He can write the book.
Yeah.
I'm working backwards.
Terry Don. Trish was telling me. Terry Don said his interview with Venables in 2008 was what sort of set in motion sort of the relationship between him and Terry Don and Venables.
Yeah, because you know what happened on Venables was because I was kind of down the road on a different path, and Terry Don just brought me a note, and he said, hey, look, do with it what you want to. He said, but he reached out to me and said he'd be interested in talking to you if you were interested, and it was Brent Venables that had his cell number. So I think Brent had reached out to Terry Don to say, hey, you know, I don't know Coach Swinney, but I've kind of watched, and man, I just every time y'all are on TV, I like watching y'all, and I told Terry, I said, I'm kind of on a different path here. I said, I'll give him a call. I appreciate that. And so I just kind of put it in my pocket, and I think it was a Thursday, and I get home that night because we had a recruiting weekend coming up, and I get home that night and I called him at like 9 o'clock, and we talked for 3 hours, literally 3 hours. I mean, Kat sat there for a little while and she's gone to bed. I mean, it was like 3 hours of conversation, and to the point I'm like, you know what? I said, Brent, I said, you know, I'm really intrigued talking to you, and I said, you're just gonna have to come here. And so he and Julie came, and I believe they came Saturday, late Friday night or early Saturday. I think it was late Friday night or early Saturday morning. They came and spent a day or so. And again, we had a visit going on. We had just finished up our banquet. I think I just walked out of our banquet when they got there, and they were checking in the hotel. And first time I'd met him, and so we visited some that night and kind of rode him around a little bit, and then we had a whole day. We met all day. It was a crazy situation because I love my staff, ain't no way I was getting rid of Marion Hobby and Dan Brooks and Charlie and those guys. And Brent, you talk about taking a leap of faith. Because, as I said, like, Brent, no, you don't get to bring nobody. I hire everybody. Nobody hires anybody here but me. And, we got to understand that right out of the gate. And I was like, you'll thank me later. I was like, but these are great men and they're great coaches. And it's kind of neat to kind of watch that all transpire because, he loves our staff.
Yeah.
And, Terry Don was the one that gave me his number.
Wow.
He didn't reach out to me directly. He let Terry Don know because he had Terry Don's number. And just said, hey, I don't know if he'd even be interested in talking to me, but if he is, I would be willing to listen. And that's kind of how it started.
That's cool.
And then that was, one day I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
People ain't going to believe it because that was a story of its own, just getting things done around here. Just where we were administratively and just knocking down walls and changing thought processes and just battles, and that was one of them. Because that I killed it in the 11th hour. Brendan, I know, he had no idea, but it'll be a fun story one of these days. It'll be a great read.
It's already pretty good.
All right,
thanks, man.
Yeah, man, enjoyed it.
Really appreciate it.
You got it.
Man, too cool. Memories of a lifetime there. Once again, apologies for all the audio fluctuations and difficulties, but I think it was worth it. I really do. So appreciate your patience. Also appreciate the support of our very loyal sponsors. Most of all, man, thanks to all of you for hitting play every week. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas, and we will be back next week. Cheers.